Hey everybody, let's talk about how to deal with addiction. Am I going to be able to solve this in a 5 to 7 minute video? No. But we do get an insight from this week's Torah portion, this week's Parsha, about addiction. And that is when it talks about a Nazir. What's a Nazir? A Nazir is a person who chooses to do an elective mitzvah, if you will, above and beyond what the Torah is mandating. It's purely elective. You don't have to do it. He or she chooses to do this. And it involves a few different prohibitions. Number one, you can't drink any wine. We want you to keep away from the buzz of wine. So much so, can't have wine, grapes, nothing. Completely abstain from that. Secondly, the person can't get a haircut. Who can't get a haircut in Jewish tradition? An avel, a mourner, can't get a haircut. Why don't we get a haircut? Because it's the idea that I don't take a haircut, I don't shave, I'm not focused as much on my look, my physical, material things. When a person passes away, we tend to focus more on the spiritual things. And that's one indication of that. And the third thing is they cannot become tumah. They can't come in contact with the dead. Who is that like? The Kohen. Higher level of Kedusha, higher level of holiness. So that's what this person chooses to do by becoming a Nazir. It's for generally a limited time period. If it's not stated otherwise, the minimum is 30 days. A person can choose longer, but it's usually for a very fixed time period. At the end of that time period, the Torah narrates that the person at that point has to bring various different offerings when they finish up. What offerings? So one of them is a chatat, a sin offering. They gotta bring a sin offering when they're finished being a Nazir. And the commentaries look at that and say, what exactly did the person do wrong that they gotta bring a sin offering? There's two different ways of looking at it. One is, you know what the sin offering is for? That you allowed yourself to become to a point where you felt it was necessary for you to go above and beyond what the Torah is telling you to do anyway. Like you're abstaining from something that God gives to the world. Alcohol, wine, beautiful. We take wine and every Shabbat, every holiday. We say Borei Pri Hagafen at happy occasions, a wedding, a Brit Milah, Borei Pri Hagafen. This is a very, very special thing that God gave us, and you're pulling back from it. Why? Because you're drinking too much? Because it pulls you down? Because you can't handle it? That's not a good thing. That you allowed yourself to get to a point where you had to pull away from this thing, and it's an extreme. The other way of looking at it, more from a positive way perhaps, is the way the Ramban Nachmanides says about why the person brings a chatat. Why? He says, Ra'ui haya lo sheyizor la'olam. It was really proper and fitting that this guy, once he chose to become a Nazir, he should have stayed there. We have a concept, ma'alim b'kedusha ve'ein moridin. You go up in holiness, you shouldn't go down. So this is a person who chose things that made him a holier person. He's abstaining from wine and alcohol, wine in particular. And he's acting like a mourner. He's focusing more on spiritual things, like a Kohen. So he should have stayed there. V'yamod kol yamav nazir v'kadosh le'elokav. He should have he should have been all his days as a Nazir and holy to God. And what happened? V'nehu tzarich kapara. He needs atonement. Why? B'shuva b'tavot olam. Because he returned to the desires, to the material things of the world. That's why he's bringing a chatat, a sin offering. So this, in a certain sense, is praising the state that he was in. The bottom line here is when we can combine these things is that, let's face it, it's best if you don't get to a point where you have to go to the other extreme and completely abstain from something and keep away from it. It's best if you could drink and eat in moderation and you don't have to go on diets and you don't have to become a Nazir. It's best that, with anything, don't go there in the first place. Smoking, vaping, things that can just take you further and further and further, and nothing good could come from it. So the optimum thing is don't go there in the first place. That's what one perspective of why we bring the sin offering. You allowed yourself to get there. You shouldn't have allowed yourself to get to that place. On the other hand, the reality is we all have our ta'avot. We all have our addictions, our desires, our things that we get a little bit too much into. And when that happens, yeah, be the Nazir. Be the person who goes to the other extreme and does whatever's necessary to pull away from it so it doesn't suck you down and ruin your life. So the Nazir is kind of like a balancing act here. It's best if we don't become Nazir-like in anything when it comes to material, desirous, physical things of the world. On the other hand, the reality is we aren't all perfect and angelic. And yes, we'll get too much into something, and it's during those moments in life where we have to become a bit of a Nazir, step it up in terms of our holiness, break away from those things, and break free from them. Little insight into addiction from this week's Parsha. Have a good Shabbat.